China announces the end of 3 days of drills encircling Taiwan.
At least 5 people have been killed in southeast France after an avalanche struck the Alps on Sunday. 1 person is still missing.
More bodies have been found in the rubble of a building that collapsed after a major explosion in the French port city of Marseille.
China has announced the end of 3 days of drills encircling Taiwan. The declaration came after the Taiwanese Defense Ministry had reported multiple encroachments of warships into its tacitly accepted waters.
With no intention to escalate the situation, the ROC Armed Forces will uphold our sovereignty and maintain our national security in a composed, rational, and thoughtful manner. Meanwhile, our air defense units have remained on high alert.
Beijing says the drills were intended to build up peace and stability and as a warning against any move by Taiwan to claim formal independence.
我们希望国际社会充分认清台湾问题的实质，坚定恪守一个中国原则，坚决反对各种形式的台独分裂活动。
Analysts say China's goal was to intimidate Taiwan by simulating an economic blockade. Russia has offered its support to Beijing, saying China had been provoked.
At least 6 people are dead and several others injured after an avalanche struck the French Alps on Sunday. The snowfall took place shortly before noon near the Armancet Glacier on Mont Blanc, outside of resorts dedicated to winter sports. While the region is prone to avalanches, officials say this was one of the deadliest in years. Authorities say the death toll includes 2 mountain guides from Saint-Gervais. A 6th fatality was announced on Monday after authorities said they were still searching for a missing person.
3 bodies have been pulled from the rubble of a building that collapsed in Marseille after a violent explosion in the early hours of Sunday morning. 5 other people remain unaccounted for, and the city's mayor says search operations are ongoing to find those who are still missing.
S'il reste des vivants sous ces décombres, il faut les préserver à tout prix. Et faire ça de manière, si je puis me permettre de m'exprimer ainsi, chirurgicale. Et donc c'est pierre par pierre que nous continuons ce travail, que nous le continuerons toute la journée. Il reste de l'espoir, et tant qu'il reste de l'espoir, nous ne nous arrêterons pas.
The 4-storey building located in Marseille's city centre was brought down by the explosion just before 1 a.m. The cause of the explosion is still to be determined, but investigators are looking at the possibility of a gas leak.
While Russia continues to focus on seizing Ukraine's industrial east, 2 other provinces, Kharkiv in the northeast and Zaporizhia in the southeast, came under missile fire on Sunday. Residential areas have been hit, including a cluster of houses where a child was among the casualties. In his nightly address, President Volodymyr Zelensky referred to the strike on Zaporizhia, saying that Russia puts itself in even greater isolation from the world and from humanity by hitting a house in Zaporizhia on the Orthodox Church's Palm Sunday. The vast majority of Ukrainians with a religious affiliation identify as Orthodox Christians, a faith that observes Easter on April the 16th this year. Some Catholics celebrated Easter on Sunday, while Orthodox churches marked Palm Sunday this weekend. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Air Force released for the first time footage of the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems being operated. The video claimed that over 5 months of combat operations, Ukrainian NASAMs have destroyed over 100 enemy missiles and drones.
Moscow may try to use the upcoming Orthodox Easter holiday on the 16th of April to delay Ukrainian counteroffensives by calling for a ceasefire out of respect for religion, the Institute for the Study of War says in its daily update. The Kremlin has selectively called for ceasefires around religious holidays to influence the situation on the front lines. Moscow, for example, refused a ceasefire during Orthodox Easter in 2022, quote, in order not to give the Kiev nationalists a break, unquote, during the Battle of Mariupol. The U.S. think tank says the Kremlin likely refused a ceasefire because Russian forces still held the initiative on the front lines at the time, but sought a ceasefire a month later over Orthodox Christmas to obtain additional time to prepare Russian forces for winter offensive. Now, the Kremlin may call for an Easter ceasefire because such a pause would disproportionately benefit Russian troops and allow them to secure their gains in urban Bakhmut and to prepare defenses against Ukraine's spring counteroffensive. Ukrainian and Russian sources discussed the decreased rate of Russian offensive operations along the entire front line over the past weekend. Russian forces continued to conduct ground attacks in and around Bakhmut and on the Avdiivka-Donetsk city line. Russian forces likely made marginal gains in southern Bakhmut. The UK Defense Ministry says over the last 7 days, Russia has likely increased its armored assaults around the Donetsk region town of Mariinka. This is about 20 kilometers southwest of Donetsk city. Mariinka has been fought over since 2014 and has been largely destroyed by artillery exchanges. It commenced the approaches to Donetsk and the Key Road. Russia continues to give a high priority to resourcing operations in the broader Donetsk sector, including the Mariinka and Avdiivka areas, expending significant resources for minimal gains. The Institute for the Study of War says the dynamics of battlefield artillery usage in Ukraine reflect the fact that Russian forces are using artillery to offset their degraded offensive capabilities.
Russia is considering lifting its ban on Twitter after the social media network reinstated access to accounts of Russian state agencies. The ban was imposed before Elon Musk took over running Twitter, but since Friday, users can once again search on the Kremlin and other official accounts. Reacting to the development, a senior Russian MP on the Duma's Information Policy Committee has called on the country's media watchdog to consider ending its restriction on Twitter. Separately, the BBC has complained to Twitter after its main account was labelled government-funded media. The broadcaster insisted it was financed by the public and independent from the government. In response, Musk reportedly emailed the BBC saying that all media organisations have some level of bias, but added that he viewed the corporation as among the least biased. Influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been questioned by Romanian prosecutors and had their electronic devices searched. It's the first time the two brothers have left house arrest, where they were placed more than a week ago after being released from a 3-month-long detention. Tate and his younger brother and 2 Romanian women are under investigation for alleged human trafficking and rape.
The Dalai Lama has apologized after a video showing him kissing a child on the mouth and asking him to suck on his tongue went viral. On Twitter, a statement posted on the Tibetan Buddhist leader's account said that His Holiness often teases people he meets in an innocent and playful way, and that he regrets the incident. The video was filmed in February when the Dalai Lama was speaking to an audience. The boy asked if he could hug him. The Tibetan spiritual leader then invited him onto the platform when the incident took place. The clip then sparked a wave of outrage on social media over the weekend.
400 people crying out for help. Sea-Watch, a German NGO working to rescue migrants in the Mediterranean, released this video on Sunday after a vessel in distress reportedly sounded the alarm. Alarm Phone, a hotline supporting rescue missions, says it received a call from the passengers on board and urged authorities to step in. However, Sea-Watch says 2 ships in the area were forbidden from coming to the passengers' aid after receiving orders from Malta. This after Spanish rescue workers pulled 145 migrants to safety from 3 boats off the coast of Lanzarote on Saturday night.
Some barely sleep, others fear spending time indoors, and many more have developed a profound fear of the mountains that had been their source of well-being. Turkish earthquake survivors clinging to the foot of soaring cliffs of ancient Antakya are quietly suffering the lingering toll of a disaster that killed more than 50,000 people 2 months ago.
Zaten yatmıyorum ben saat 2-3'te, 3'te öyle bir şey yatıyorum yani. Ama saat 5'te geri kalkıyorum. 3'te yatıyorum saat 5, 6'yı geçmez yani kesinlikle. Uyanıyoruz geri. İşte benim oğlum var Antalya'daki, o her zaman kendi kendine bağırıyor. Geldi bir hafta yanımda kaldılar. Gece kaç defa 4-5 defa bağırıyor. Depremden dolayı korkuyor yani.
Volunteer psychiatrist Aral Turk tries to heal the anguished by driving around the disaster zone with a box full of pills in his car and a notepad for recording emotions.
En sık gördüğümüz 3 ruhsal hastalık bu süreçte akut stres reaksiyonları, bunun yanında kayıplara bağlı yas reaksiyonları ve geçmiş psikiyatrik hastalıkların, geçmişte hastanın halihazırda deprem öncesi olan hastalıkların geri alevlenmesi şeklinde.
On the day of the disaster, Sevgi's baby was only 15 days old. Now this young mother lives in fear.
Tabii ki yani deprem olduğu o kadar hala da sallanıyoruz ara sıra. O yüzden korkularımız oluyor tabii ki. Yani kendimizi geçtik, bebeklerimiz var, o yüzden endişeliyiz.
3 million people have been displaced by the earthquakes in Turkey, according to the International Organization for Migration, and many of those present symptoms of PTSD.